What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage, Monday morning, and I have my friend, my brother, René Rodriguez. What's up, man?
What's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So I watched your TED Talk over the weekend, man. It was spectacular.
Thank you. That was a long time coming.
Yeah, no, I know when you first started publishing it, saying that you're going to do it on Facebook, and then to see what came out, wow, I'm blown away.
Thank you. It was 10 years ago, it was one of those things I put out there, and then about a year and a half ago, I'm like, maybe I should start working towards this goal.
Yeah, right?
It's like wishing about it, but then, hold on a second, I forgot the work part too.
Yeah. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's called Harnessing the Power of Courage. I think it is super on point for the mortgage coach community right now. I personally got a lot of value from it, René. I mean, I watched it because you're my friend. So like, why did I watch it? Oh, my friend René has this TED Talk. I'm going to check it out. But I shared it with my family because I just thought it was a great TED Talk. Like I actually didn't even tell him it was a friend of mine because I didn't want him to think that, oh, Dave's forwarding another friend's book or idea or concept. I'm like, important TED Talk. I want you guys to check it out. So
awesome.
you killed it, brother.
Thank you. That means a lot, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a topic very near and dear to my heart. Something I've been talking about for over 15 years, probably. It's always funny that people that in the mortgage community are like, what was that about? Because they're used to kind of me on the sales side and leadership side, or things like that. But there's a much bigger purpose, I think, behind it and why we talk about it.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that. So folks, highly recommend that you listen to this TED Talk or watch the TED Talk, study it, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your team. There'll be a link down below. But René, I'd like to create an interview with you right now for the next, 15, 20 minutes, a little bit about, the courage scale that you created. Love the courage scale. So give us a little bit about that for anyone that hasn't watched the video.
Sure.
And then where I want to take this interview beyond your TED Talk is, hey, you're a leader of a mortgage team, whether it's your team, whether it's your branch, whether it's your region, whether you're head of production and you need to level up your team. I just believe that we are at a time in the mortgage industry where it's time to level up. It's time for loan officers to deliver advice, means use Mortgage Coach. It means prospect more than they've ever done before. And it's time for leaders to lead a team that really, really rises to the occasion of the market at hand. So I want to close with that, but knowing that you're talking to mortgage professionals in the Mortgage Coach community, how would you walk us through your, this tool that you created?
So the background, my mother actually used to live in Sedona, Arizona, and she had a neighbor. His name was Dr. David Hawkins, and I talk about his story in the talk. But he wrote a book called Power versus Force, and he was a world-famous psychiatrist and psychologist, medical doctor. And when he wrote this, it was power versus force. And so obviously, above the line is power, below the line is force. And when you think about things that are powerful, things that are inviting, leadership, inspiration, those things are inviting. It's power, right? But then the typical scene of management and force and people pushing and driving things, that would be the force. And so, but what's cool is that he assigned this logarithmic number to it, saying how much energy or how much vitality was given off when we use one or the other. And what's so ironic is that a lot of the things that are seen as powerful are what for so many years have been seen as the soft side of business. And, I've been doing this for over 20 years. And when I first started talking about this stuff, and wasn't in the mortgage industry, it was working with very high level executives. And back then, if you didn't have a hard case for something, if you couldn't explain the business value of something, you didn't get anywhere. And so I spent so many years, how do you take this what he called his consciousness scale and move it into, and this is really the work of my mother, moving it into the courage scale, where we created a dividing line of courage that separated the up and the down. In his scale, he doesn't have a separation. So it's just a lot of numbers. And so we looked at what was really interesting, that courage was this line, that everything that fell below that line was on the taking side of life, things that sort of decrease our energy, and anything that lied above that line was something that was giving energy. And we've presented it to tens of thousands of people all over the world, people that didn't speak English. And it's one of those things that transcends culture. It transcends language. It transcends everything, because it's such a human function. I think that people understand already that there are givers and there are takers. And so when, deciding, a TED Talk is about one idea and fleshing that idea out, that felt like the one that was going to be the most authentic for me in terms of something that was good. Plus I had an audience of high school kids, but I also knew that this was something that was relevant and would be pervasive to more than just business, and to family as well, and to personal life.
Well, let's do this, because I have some specific questions and specific things I'd like to drive for mortgage leaders. If you could just, I know in the backdrop there we have the scale, but I know towards the bottom, there's guilt and shame. If you could just, in the context of a mortgage pro, talk about some of those things that take energy and those things that give energy. And then let's wrap it up with some tactics, very specific tactics that I'm a mortgage leader I could do to, upgrade myself and upgrade and help and empower others around me.
Well, you said in the beginning that there is massive change happening in the mortgage industry right now, massive change. And that translates into high levels of stress. There are people that aren't going to be able to and don't understand the margin compression, and they're going to be jumping from company to company. They're going to be looking for that company that's going to promise them a bigger paycheck or a higher commission. Competitive pressure is happening, but that happens in every business. And so let's go back to the fundamentals of selling. Selling, Brian Tracy used to say, was a transference of emotion or a transference of feeling. And if I am nervous or upset, or if I am stressed out, or I've got commission breath or dollar signs in my eyes because I need to make rent, all of that stuff is going to transfer onto my client. And so the easy look is that, anything of that nature, high stress, desperation, fear, all of that is below the line, and that's what's going to transfer. And what I've shared, and back in the day when I used to own a mortgage company, we trained everybody, and most of my clients I work with, we train everybody on this courage scale, and they get a courage scale just like this, right? They put it up on their computer screen, and it sits there. And we used to hold realtor luncheons, and so we would hold the realtor luncheon, and we talk about our features, benefits, products, and all that stuff. But we'd say, hold on a second. We would say, the reality is if you do business with us, you're not only going to do business with me, the person speaking, but you're going to do business with my team, right? And so let me tell you a little bit about how we see our culture. And they present their version of the courage scale, right? And if you go to couragescale.com, you can actually see the TED Talk. You can actually see a video of me explaining it for free. But they would play this video. And
can I get a little download of one of those little handouts? I want that.
That's actually on the couragescale.com. So you can download the whole graphic, everything. So,
okay, guys. So down below, you're watching this in YouTube. I'll have a link to that mortgage coach community. Watch the video, download the courage scale deliverable. And I want to see that on a lot of screens as I'm out doing site visits. I love it. Keep it going.
Awesome. Yeah. It was just one of those things that I get so many requests for it that I just decided, literally, I don't know, about 8 months ago, I bought couragescale.com and just put it up there for free. I will literally sometimes walk into restaurants and people will come up to me with René, and I don't recognize them, but they pull out of their wallet this crinkly old thing. It's one of those magic things that people don't throw away. But I go back to this, and we would present it in these realtor luncheons, and every realtor would say, how do I get one of these? Right. And they would all want it. And of course, we'd all give them a courage scale card. And I even have companies that have branded it to themselves. This is not one of those things that I'm trying to keep René's branding on it. Obviously, tell people where you got it, because we did create it. We are using this with permission of Dr. Hawkins, who actually passed away several years ago, unfortunately. But they rebranded it to their company and they give it to the realtors. But what's powerful is they buy into this concept of being above the line, below the line, and they really want to work with people who are above the line. And so, but what's fascinating is when you take them on an office tour afterwards, and they see these on people's computer screens, on their processors, on the underwriters, on everybody there, they immediately make that connection to them. So go back to even what we learned from Simon Sinek, is we do business with people who believe what we believe. And if they bought into the concept, and now they see that the person answering the phone for my clients is asking themselves this question, because this is what we would tell them. Before they pick up your call, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, our people are asking themselves, are they above the line or below the line? And if they're below the line, because that's part of life, they look over to a counterpart and they say, would you mind taking this call? because we want to make sure that we're branding and managing your reputation, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, and through this piece. It's such a powerful differentiator. And people go back, okay, hold on a second. This isn't product based, but do people make decisions based on emotion or logic? And obviously we all know it's emotion, but I always followed up with this question. I said, okay, great. We all believe that it's emotion, but are you willing to restructure your sales process to actually follow that logic and that emotion? Most people will say, show me your presentation. What's features, benefits, products? This is what we offer. But how much of it actually inspires? And so, but for what we tell people is that if the leader believes in something like that, share it with the office. Get everybody to do that, but also be the kind of leader that inspires people, because there's a couple lessons about the Kurt scale. One is that wherever we are on the scale is a choice. That's such a huge revelation, that if I'm fear and anger, shame and guilt, that there's a choice. Now there's power in choice. I sometimes have the right to feel sad because, somebody passed away, or have the right to feel angry, or but shame and guilt can be so close to that death. And shame that I maybe can't pay my bills because the market is changing so much. Guilt that I didn't prospect enough last week. And that's going on in such a low energy. And what's so cool is that they're so below the line because they have to, and now they're out there and they're not doing well prospecting because they're transferring that energy. I was taught when I was 18 years old, the best time to make a sales call is right after a sale, because you're on a high. And what's so amazing is you're on this high, you just close this deal. I have this habit of picking up the phone and calling another client or another referral source or somebody who's there, because I can just transfer that moment. It's such a golden moment of being so far above that line. But we wait until we're like, finally, fine, I'll prospect. It's like, dude, that is your number one thing. And how do we turn that around and choose to get above the line? So the next piece of it, obviously, is choice, choosing to be up there. And what I found was in my career that just the act of grabbing the card and looking at it is an act of courage. Just by looking at it, because you're saying, I'm now willing, which is right at 310, I'm willing to open up my idea to be in a better place. And sometimes in hard meetings, I've had to fire people. I've had to have really difficult conversations. I'll take the card and I place it right on my knee, under the table, and I just look at it and it keeps me in a better place. I've had this with people and I say, look, I've literally had people come out of my sessions and leave early, but they took the card with them to go meet with number one agents of an entire city. And literally they showed the scale, and the agent goes, hold on a second, bring my team in here. Team, this is the kind of people we want to work with. And like, I've literally had people make decisions based on something, a concept like this, but it shouldn't surprise us, because what have we been saying? And I love that you've been on this. You've been saying that people do business with people who believe the same thing, starting with why. All those types of things triggers a different part of our brain to do that. But most of us aren't good at expressing, this is what I believe. This is how I hold true to these concepts, because we get so stuck in the linear product, feature, benefit, pricing, that we have nothing else to go on. But when we connect with something on something that people actually believe in, that's from something a little bit deeper, we'll figure out the rest. We'll figure out pricing. I'll make sure to call you. I will answer your phone call because you bring me above the line. But what's also fascinating is that birds of a feather flock together. You walk in with an agent who's probably, and I'm gonna tell you, most of your agents and most of your realtors and most of your clients are below the line. Any one of your clients is below the line. And what we would also do, and I urge my clients to do this, is when you're in a buyer presentation or client presentation, is start with the scale. Say, hey, I want to share something that we do. It's really fascinating. And the clients will be like, well, what is it? And this is a courage scale, blah, 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 blah. And I said, but what's unfortunate is a lot of times the buying process or the mortgage process can be pretty below the line. It's scary. There's credit. Are we going to get the house? Are we going to get approved? And is it going to close on time? There's all this stuff. So I want you to know that every one of my team members is thinking along this line. If you ever fall below the line, I want you to call me. I want you to call me, because I either usually maybe it's a piece of information you don't have or something I can do to bring you back up. Now, when you give this as a gift, I dare them to shop you afterwards. I dare them to shop you. They're not going to, because this is what this is about. But what's really cool is you're also managing reviews at this point. If you ever have a less than 5-star experience, give me a call. I'll make sure you get back up there. I mean, there's so many applications of managing the emotional state of a client and a referral partner that has felt so elusive in the past. Like, what does that mean? Well, now we have a scale. Are you above the line? So we've simplified the whole process. Don't even get me started on saying, what does it mean to your culture and your business? And forgive me, I've been doing this 15 years. So it's like there's so many applications of this. And that's why it was like hard to say, how do I keep that under 18 minutes in that TED Talk?
Yeah, no, well, you did. So, mortgage coach community. First of all, you got to watch the TED Talk. To me, just the intentionality of this knowledge, just looking at the card, just knowing there's this above the line and below the line, is something that's valuable. Because here's what I know for absolute certainty, and I did a post on it. I know with absolute certainty the most successful mortgage professionals prospect consistently. And I know in order to do that effectively and consistently, they need to get above the line. They are carrying this energy of hopefulness, love, peace, joy, enlightenment, all the things, openness, logic. They're living in that place. So I believe that every family deserves a total cost analysis, that every loan officer should do it. But I know that when a loan officer does that, they're above the line. They're not below the line. And so I want to see success. I want to see change in our community. And I do think this is a great tool. So my goal with this interview is to start the conversation with the mortgage coach community, get you familiar with the term, and this, courage scale. And let's have a conversation about it. I'm gonna be interviewing René Moore. He's a good personal friend and a dedicated leader to the mortgage coach community. I'm gonna put a link to one of my last interviews with René down below, because that was an incredible interview, René. So if you want to know more about René, follow him on Facebook, follow him on LinkedIn, connect with his website. René, what are some other ways folks can connect with you if they wanted to hire you to speak at a sales rally, or what's the best way for our community to connect with you?
So obviously my website, crenespeak.com is there. In fact, we just we're in the process of changing it all right now. So doing some really cool things on there. I do every quarter, I do an Amplify leadership course. You can see that Amplify with 2 eyes. Click on that, but that's more of a 3-day sort of high intensive immersion where we take 10 people, no more than 10, through a 3-day process that gets them in front of the room. We record them, break it down using my framing tie-down methodology that we've talked about several times, but it's very intense. Courage skill is a big piece of it, because where you are, where's your energy level on stage, on webinars, wherever that is, when you meet people, how you carry yourself, presence. Your presence is what introduces you before you even speak. And so what does presence mean? It's about, where is my authentic message, brief message on that piece. I had a CEO one time that we record a lot of times people's faces and we see micro expressions. And if you know about human emotion, it can't hide. It has to have some way out. That's why poker players are good. If they see somebody twirling their fingers, that's an expression of an emotion of some sort, movement of eyes, where they keep things. Human emotion can't be hidden. But when you videotape a presentation and just watch the face and micro expressions, we would pause, where one executive would stop when we would pause the video, and he looked like that. But it was so quick where he'd be like that as he was talking, but that would send this message. And he goes, I need you to help me stop doing that. I said, I can't. And no, I don't want to. He goes, why? I go, why don't we start talking about something you actually believe in first? And that will just go away. And I said, you don't believe in what you're saying, do you? And he said, I'm having a hard time with it. Yeah. And that's how it comes out. And so authenticity begins with beginning with something you actually believe in. And then all of a sudden the facial expressions will follow. It's magic, right? But we focus on the wrong stuff sometimes. So yeah, there's Facebook, obviously, see René speak and all that stuff. I was gonna give you a download of the 6 money making activities too. I'll throw that in there. It's starts with prospecting and stuff too. So
yeah, where would we get that?
I'll give it to you. You put it on a download. We'll get a link onto it.
So we'll put that in the Facebook group. If you're watching this, Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind, check it out. René, this is powerful. I want to keep this conversation going. Remember, everybody, if you have a question for René, if you have a success story where you've used this courage scale, please share it down below. And René, I look forward to our next interview and our next conversation, brother.
Awesome. I would just say, if people can share it, that would be helpful, but don't just click share, put something on there. Put a message of some sort. That would help me a lot to help get this out there to the world. So thanks, Dave. Dude, I love you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You're always on point, always way ahead of the game. folks, if you're watching this, just do what Dave says. It's going to be good. Love you, dude.
Like, the only thing I want you to do is make sure you share Renee's video, like it, and watch at least one mortgage coach video a week. Take care, y'all.
See you guys.